Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to today's employment orientation training. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get more job offers than you can handle in the next 30 days guaranteed. And this employment orientation training is brought to you by USA Career Alliance. My name is Thomas Hubble, and I'm actually the Director of Recruiting here for USA Career Alliance. And I've helped thousands of people find meaningful employment by using some of the strategies and techniques that we'll be talking about today. So I have over a decade of experience doing this, and I'm excited to share this with you today. Again, my name is Thomas Hubble, and I'm the Director of Recruiting, and I'll be guiding you through the steps involved to get a number of job offers coming your way in the next 30 days, guaranteed. So let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about a few things, and the first thing we're going to be talking about is the steps for creating the ultimate resume. Next, we're going to talk about what you need to do when you're applying for the job. And then after that, one of the most important pieces of the process, the interview. Finally, accepting job opportunities, which by the time you get to that point, it's just a matter of deciding which job you want to take. So first things first, I'm going to tell you about the steps involved to creating the ultimate resume. So one thing you want to keep in mind when it comes to applying for jobs is that your resume is the first chance that you have to make a first impression. And that's very important because this is the single document that will get your foot into the door for you to take the next step to eventually get that interview. A great resume will get you to the top of the applicant pile, and the first step you need to take is to choose the type of resume that you will write for yourself. So, all resumes, just to keep in mind, are not the same basic template, and this is something that you need to be aware of before you write your resume. There are actually 4 types of resumes that you can choose from, and those 4 types of resumes are chronological, functional, combination, and targeted. So let's talk about the first one here, chronological. Basically, a chronological resume is the most common type that people use. Essentially, this resume just lists your work history first. The list of your jobs start with your most recent and working your way back through the rest of your jobs. It basically gives the employer a glimpse at your work history. This is one of the most popular types of resumes with recruiters. The chronological resume gives them the work history that you can just view at a quick glance. So the next type of resume is the functional resume. Now, this resume is the most effective if you do not have a lot of work experience, and you want to choose this resume if you don't. So maybe you've just graduated from college or you don't have that much actual work experience. Then the functional resume is going to be more effective. And this type of resume is a great way to focus on the skills that you have that would help you distinguish from other people applying for the job. So you're focusing on your skills rather than your work history. Now, you may want to choose the functional resume if you're either in the process of changing careers or maybe you have a large gap in your employment history. Like I said before, this is also a good type of resume for first-time job hunters. So the next type of resume is the combination resume. So the combination resume is a way to combine the parts of a functional resume and a chronological resume. And this type of resume lists your skills and your experiences first. So instead of listing your work history, you're listing your skills and then your experience. And the next part of this resume is to list your work history in reverse chronological order. So this resume helps you to highlight skills that you possess that will get you the job that you're applying for while showing your work history as well. So it's very important to really think about this stuff before you start writing your resume. What's going to be the best and most effective resume to use when you're applying for jobs? And the final resume type is a targeted resume. And this resume is the most difficult type to use because you need to really update it for each individual job you apply for. In other words, the target resume, it's going to showcase the skills that you have that are very specifically relevant to the position that you're applying for. Now, in some cases, if you're applying for a position that is the same type of position with different companies, then you don't really need to make that many changes. But if you're applying to a number of different types of positions, you're going to want to create a resume specific to each of those positions that you're applying for. Now, for each job that you do apply for, you will need to change the skills that you're going to be focusing on so it's relevant to that job. So these are the 4 types of resumes that you could utilize when you're applying for jobs so you know which ones are going to be the most effective. And at the end of this orientation, I'm going to talk about places where you can go to get much more detailed information about this. So step 2 in this process of getting a number of job offers your way in the next 30 days. Step 2 is applying for the job. And one thing you have to consider is that based on how you structure your resume, that's going to determine how you apply for the job. And basically, one thing to keep in mind is that with the current trend of technology, more and more companies are now requiring prospective applicants to submit their application online. So, nowadays, some of you who maybe have been in the job market for a while are used to going in for the interview, filling out the application, or going into the company, completing an application there before you actually formally apply for the job. Most companies are now doing most of that process online before you ever come to their offices to actually interview with them. So, with that being said, the first impressions are not really by your first appearance, but more so by the quality of the email or your application online. And emails regarding job applications should be polished and well articulated. And when you're applying online, you want to follow a few tips that we'll go over right now. So basically, like I said before, when applying online, you'd want to use these following tips. Make sure that you complete your sentences and do not abbreviate. One thing to be aware of, for me, working with people looking for jobs, and me working with companies who are looking to hire people for over a decade now, employers do not like when you send them application letters that seem to be too casual. It's important to make a letter that is both formal and well written. This gives you a good impression regarding your capabilities and skills. So you don't want to abbreviate or use slang or use short sentences that really don't get your point across. And that brings me to the next step, which is to get directly to the point. Now, when writing an application letter, you must be concise and straightforward. Don't put a story on the letter just to get the attention of the employer. Basically, chances are that he or she will get irritated with you, and this only reduces your chances of getting hired. In other words, you don't want to write the story of your life when you're initially applying for these positions. You want to keep it short and to the point, focusing on your skills, how you can add value to that company, and your interest in that position. So just keep that in mind as you're applying for jobs as well. The next thing to consider is, basically, you want to take into consideration potential issues that may hinder you from getting a job. You may find there may be instances where there's a lot of need for a job, but the requirements for the position may entail training that may potentially bar you from getting that position due to its highly competitive nature. Some may require a lot of experience, even at least 3 years of work experience. Some jobs may have no barriers to entry, but the job itself may entail a very routine workflow. So getting the job you want may be a challenge depending on what you're looking for, but you want to stay focused and never lose hope. That's the biggest difference for people that we've worked with, that we've helped get jobs, or given them access to job resources, is that they were very consistent. They follow these strategies and tips, and they stay focused. And basically, at the end of that 30-day period or so, they have a number of job offers coming their way. So, you want to stay focused, and then, when it's time to make the decision, then you act on it. So let's get to the next section. Now, this is one of the most important sections, which is the interview process. Now, this is one of the biggest pieces of all the steps, is really the interview process. That face-to-face interview, or even sometimes a phone interview. So one thing to take in consideration is that hiring managers, the people who are going to be hiring you, they place their decision to hire somebody almost exclusively and entirely on the interview itself. In other words, even if you don't have the best skills compared to other people, or even if other people have more experience than you, you could still get to the top of the list by the interview. And I've seen this happen numerous times, where the way people are presenting themselves at the interview has gotten them the job offer over people who may have been much, much more qualified. And this is something a lot of people don't tell you unless you are working directly with people who are either helping you find a job or you're working with people who hire people for a living. You don't really know a lot of this information. So let's just take the assumption that you have a great resume. You follow the steps that we talked about here. Your letter caught the attention of the hiring manager, and they move your application to the top of the pile. And you've landed one of the most coveted things on the road to landing the perfect job, and that's the interview. Now, just because you have the interview, that doesn't mean that your work is over, you know. Basically, this is the time when you need to put in the extra effort to keep your name above the rest of the applicants when it comes to that job. Now, like I said before, hiring managers, they place their decision almost entirely on the interview process. So, this is really the make or break process to really getting the job. So, no need to worry though. There's no need to worry. Basically, just following a few basic steps will basically enable you to position yourself where they want to choose you for the job over everybody else. And here are some things to take into consideration and some keys to having a successful interview. So basically, one of the keys is preparation. So before you head off to the interview, it's going to be important to be fully prepared for it. You want to take these steps for every interview that you go on. And by preparing for a job interview in advance, this will greatly help you in your success. This will almost ensure your success on most of the occasions. It's a very, very important part of the process. And basically, depending on how long you have to prepare for the interview, you want to take at least a couple of days. It is important to research the company that you are interviewing with. You don't want to go into the company interview and have no idea what the company does, or the people who own the company, or some of the main employees of the company. So you want to get that information. But basically, what's going to happen is the interviewer is going to ask you questions to see how well acquainted you are with the company that you've applied for. And basically, by being able to answer these questions appropriately, this will show the interviewer that you are truly interested in the company. And you'll be surprised. This little step here will get you above other people who have applied because most people will not do this. Most people will not do that preparation. In that few minutes, maybe 20 or 30 minutes per company that you're applying for. When they do request an interview with you, just spending a few minutes to get more information about the company will make a huge difference in your potential to get that position. So another thing that you want to do the day before the interview is to do a dry run. If you need to drive to the interview, drive there first or make sure you know the directions first so you're not running late. So it's something that will make a huge difference. You do not want to be late to an interview. That will be a strike against you, and you don't want to have any strikes against you before you actually start the process. So you want to get there early. Do a dry run, as we call it. Drive past the interview, the company spot first, so that you can be sure that you know how to get there and there's not going to be any unforeseen issues by the time you get there. So another thing that you want to take into consideration is your attire, what you're wearing. Even if the company is casual, even if it's a company that doesn't wear suits, professional business attire, you still want to go in there and dress professionally. You don't want to assume that it's going to be okay to dress casual to an interview unless they explicitly say so. You always want to go more professional than the people that are in the office. So if people aren't wearing suits and ties, just because they aren't wearing suits and ties doesn't mean that you shouldn't go in there with a suit and tie or a professional dress. So it's something to be very key about. Also, another important thing is your attitude. And what I mean by attitude is that you want to be confident when you go in there. You want to position yourself. You want to sit up straight. You want to look your interviewer in the eye. You want to smile. You want to be pleasant, but you want to be confident. But you don't want to be arrogant. You don't want to talk like, oh, I'm going to get this job. I know I'm going to get this job. You want to be very professional in your attitude. You want to be friendly. People want to work with people who they like. And this is something that people won't tell you. When you're getting a job, people don't tell you this. But if they feel that they can like you, even if you're not the most qualified, if they feel that you have a good attitude, that you're determined to learn what you need to learn to be an asset to the company, then you're going to get the job. Like I said before, I've helped thousands of people get jobs, and this is something that I see consistently. If they feel that you're going to be a good fit for the company, what they call company culture, and a good fit, you can kind of get along with people, and you're friendly, and you know about the company, it makes you getting that job much, much easier. And then another important piece is follow-up. After the interview is over, you want to follow up thanking everybody who was a part of the interview for taking the time out to meet with you. And then also let them know that you are very interested in that position and that you can get started as soon as they finalize their decision. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to talk about some more resources where you could go to get much more detailed information. But this information right here is going to be very important to you getting ahead of anybody else that's also applying for any jobs that you're applying for. So, I went through all these here, and basically the final thing is accepting job opportunities. Obviously, after you go through the interview, you're going to be waiting for people to send you a job offer. And this is the best part of the whole process. I mean, you're getting a job to enhance your career, to get a higher salary, to get a better paying position, or whatever. So this is the most satisfying part of your process, obviously, because until you get a job, you're not generating any income unless you have another job. So here's something that we've seen a lot, but having too many job offers made to you is one of the best problems that you can have in your job search. Some of the people that we've helped, that's been their situation. Just like we said, getting a number of job offers within 30 days. And some of the problems that people face is that they might have 7 or 8 or 10 job offers in the course of a few weeks, and they don't know what to do. What should I do? How should I make the decision on which job to accept? Now, this is a great problem to have. If you're going to have any problems in your job search, a problem that most people want to have is getting too many job offers. Too many people wanting to pay you money to work for them. That's a very good situation to be in. So basically, accepting the right job is going to entail a few things into consideration. One would be the salary. You want to find out what's the salary. How much are they paying you per hour or per year, and compare that to the other job offers that you're getting. If everything about each company is good, you could see yourself working at any company, then it may come down to how much you're getting paid. But then also, a lot of people, while the salary is important, they also want to know what the benefits are. Maybe you have some kids, or maybe you want to make sure you have good health insurance or anything like that. So you want to know what the benefits are. So you want to ask those questions before you accept a job. What are the benefits? How good are the benefits compared to another company? Because a lot of times, that can make or break, Are they giving you a 401k, or do they provide time off? If you're pregnant, or if you're a man, if you want to do a paternity or paternal leave. All those things you want to take into consideration. And then also the growth potential. Are you going to be stuck in this one position for 5 years, 10 years? Is there going to be potential to grow with that company? Usually this will be talked about in the interview, but you want to take that into consideration as well. Are they looking for people to grow, or are they just wanting people just in those positions and that's it? And then also flexibility. How flexible are they? Are you able to take off for a vacation a week or 2 a year and still get paid? Are you able to change your hours up if you need to without it being a major issue to your job? And then also, lastly, the people. Do you like the people that you work with? Remember, you're going to be working there maybe full or part-time, and in most cases, you're going to be dealing with people. And while it's not always possible to know the type of people you're going to be working with, it's good to ask what the company culture is. Are people friendly? Do they do a lot of after-work activities? What type of people are involved with the company that you're working for? That will make a big difference in potentially the long-term growth that you have with the company. Because if you don't like the people that you work with, it's going to be much more stressful to work there, even if you're getting paid a good amount of money, even if you have good benefits. So these are all things that you want to take into consideration when accepting a job offer.